The Winnipeg Jets, no matter how talented their roster actually is, can never have success in the playoffs, and I'll tell you why. The story starts a couple years ago. Entering the 2022 season, the Jets did not have much to play for. They were coming off a disappointing 2021-22 season, so it seemed that the team was not going to be that good. But somehow, the opposite had happened. At the turn of the calendar year, the Jets were playing pretty good hockey, posting a 23-13-1 record. And after that game, on Valentine's Day, they were 34-19-1 and were second in the Central Division. Their offense was above average, but their defense wasn't that good. They just had an amazing goalie in Connor Hellebuyck. Hellebuyck had an off year in the previous season with a .910 save percentage and a 7.4 goals saved above average. The next season, he bounced back with a .920 save percentage and a 31.1 goals saved above average. The defense also got a little bit better, but not as much improved as Hellebuyck. Despite this, the Jets almost choked their way out of the playoffs, finishing the season 12-14-2 over the last 28 games. They were the second wildcard spot, which assigned them a series against the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas was the top dog in the West. They had just acquired Ivan Barbashev for depth from the Blues just a couple days before the trade deadline. With names like Shea Theodore, Mark Stone, and, oh yeah, Jack Eichel, they looked unstoppable. They were making their all-in push, and Winnipeg just seemed to be in the way. But upsets happen all the time, and Game 1 proved this exactly right. A 5-1 win over the Golden Knights on Vegas' home ice. Game 2 started off on the right foot again with an incredible save by Hellebuyck and a goal by Adam Lowry. But then, 5 goals for the Golden Knights would seal it, as the Jets were only able to score 1 in that span. The series was now tied at ones, and there was no clear advantage. Winnipeg got their lopsided victory in Game 1, Vegas did in Game 2. It appeared that the winner of Game 3 would do so by a lot, and a 4-1 lead for Vegas at the second intermission backed this claim up. And I'd like to talk about the fourth Vegas goal, just to highlight how much Hellebuyck carried this team into the postseason. The play starts with Jack Eichel carrying the puck in alongside Keegan Kolesar on his left on a 2-on-2. Eichel rips a shot, and Hellebuyck makes the save. He's done his job. Now it's up to the defenseman, Neil Pionk, to keep his man away from the rebound. What does Pionk do in this situation? Completely gives up on the play and lets Kolesar go right around him and score one of the easiest goals of his whole career. Naturally, Vegas went out to get the easy win and didn't give up a 4-1 lead in the third period. I can assure you, no multi-goal leads were blown in the making of this video. Right, guys? Yeah, somehow the Jets found their magic from Game 1 and displayed it here in the third period. Unfortunately, this is where the magic ended for the Jets as they turned over the puck right behind the net and turned it right over to the slot. A nice shot is all the Golden Knights needed to put the game to bed and win Game 3. After that game, the series was basically over. All hope for the Jets was gone, and the Vegas Golden Knights took the series in 5. But in the Jets' eyes, even though they had just been eliminated from the playoffs, they vastly improved that season. They just had to add some depth scoring and have the defense get a little better, and they would be a competitive team. The Golden Knights would win the Stanley Cup, so the fact that the Jets couldn't get past them with their mistake-prone, inexperienced team made sense. What happened next year? Didn't. The next year, the Jets improved immensely. They got more depth down the middle when trading Pierre-Luc Dubois for 3 centers. But this only made a slight change in scoring as they only got 13 more goals than last season. Where this team improved the most was on defense. Each of their starting 6 defensemen enhanced their plus-minus from last year. 4 out of those 6 players were able to surpass the highest scoring plus-minus player from the last year's Jets team. When we look at defensive point shares, a stat that tells you how many points a player has provided for the team based on his defensive abilities, it makes more sense. The top 2 defensemen were really good, and Josh Morrissey even had a scoring touch on him. The next 2 were also pretty good, but not as good as the first 2, and the last 2 could play some defense if they had to. This new surge from the defensemen caused the Jets' goals against to decrease substantially. This triggered 2 things to happen. Number 1, Connor Hellebuyck was more comfortable in net as he didn't have to bail out his team as much as he needed to in years past. And number 2, the team was really, really good. They were the 2nd seed in the Central and were actually able to hold on to a division spot instead of falling to the wild card like they did the year before. They entered the postseason in style too, on an 8-game winning streak, which was important because if a team gets hot in the playoffs, they're unstoppable. Their opponent, Colorado, a team that won the Stanley Cup just 2 years ago, although they weren't really the same team in 2024. Gabriel Landeskog had been out all year, and both Stanley Cup winning goalies had departed. Their replacement was Alexander Georgiev, and he just wasn't the same. This team had to play the Jets, a team that performed much better than them for most of the regular season and was now riding into the playoffs hot. It just seemed over for the Avs, and Game 1 proved this true.
Here he is again. The Jets win Game 1.
7-6. An absolute barn burner in the first game of round 1. The Jets scored 7 goals, and even though they let in 6, one was a very good shot and one was a weird bounce. Plus, Georgiev looked very beatable. The series was very winnable for the Jets. It was looking good for the Jets in Game 2 as the game was tied at 2 with just under 3 minutes to go in the second period. The Avs hadn't had the lead all game, and it looked like the Jets had a good chance of winning this game. But then, Hellebuyck would make his worst play of the postseason. He went to play the puck away from his net, but accidentally gave it away, and the Avalanche scored. For some reason, this is the moment the Jets decided to start making defensive errors. This is where the advantage truly changed to Colorado's side, not just for the game, but for the series. The game ended 5-2. The Jets would not get another goal, and the Avs would bury them. In Game 3, the Jets were holding on to a 2-1 lead going into the third period. But then, they started collapsing again. Colorado scored their second goal off a tip by Valeri Nichushkin on the power play. Soon enough, the Avalanche were on another power play, and oh my gosh, the 3 Jets players right in front of the net, and none of them are able to intercept the pass going to Valeri Nichushkin, and one of them is actually out of position, which gives Nichushkin like a bajillion hours to set up in his wheelhouse. He shoots, he scores, Avalanche lead, and go on to win. Alright Jets, do you guys fix anything for Game 4? So the man that was supposed to be covering the guy in the slot has actually started puck watching and is now wandering towards it. So, no. And what about Game 5? Why is he wide open? Mistakes like these can cause your team to start beating yourself up and start to lose the momentum you may have once had and just give it to the other team. Mistakes like these don't belong in the playoffs, but for the Jets, they kept happening. And those errors I just showed you were not the only ones in the whole series. They were just the most glaring. There were so many things that the Jets did wrong in this series, which is sad because they had a really good team in the regular season, but they choked. Remember that great defense the Jets had in the regular season? That was fun. In the playoffs, they gave up 6, 5, 6, 5, and 6 goals in each game respectively. In the regular season, the Jets never went more than 2 games in a row giving up 5 or more goals. Here, they went 5 games in a row giving up 5 or more goals. And Hellebuyck wasn't just going to bail out his team for every single miscue that happened. He made a couple mistakes in those playoffs, but the rest of the team just hung him out to dry. That team was very good, but they still couldn't even get close to winning a cup, let alone winning a round. And that has just been what the Jets have done in their history as a franchise. They don't win. Winnipeg originally came into the league in 1979, but had to move in 1996 due to financial issues. They came back in 2011, and since then have been to 1 conference championship in 2018. Vegas knocked them out that year. They have never made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, even when they first came into the league. If they want to change the storyline that Winnipeg doesn't win, then they actually have to win in the playoffs. And this core has proven that they cannot do that. That was their best shot of winning the cup with that core, as the Jets have lost 4 major pieces in free agency due to cap issues. The Jets need to try something different, because clearly, this isn't working. What that something is in the future.